So yesterday we left off, well, and really we're just reviewing the stuff we already covered in 309. So I don't want to bore you to death with the things you already know. So I did tend to skip right over solving for series circuits, which I think everybody in here is actually pretty dang good at right now. But given a circuit, with some values, let's see. Wish I could make it hard, but I don't know if there's a way I can actually stump you guys. Where's the pen? Go. 12 volts. Let's see, I have an example here. I don't like any of those examples at all. They're all too easy. Let's make it 24. Volts, not that it made it harder, it's just this example's there. We'll do 15 volts here. Half an amp. 0.5, and 8 ohms.
Is that 0.05 or 0.5?
See, that's supposed to go away. 0.5. Work it with me. So it's like on the video for anybody who needs help. What is the first thing we would do?
We can put the amperage all around. Since it's a series circuit, the amperage is going to be the same throughout the entire circuit.
Okay, so we can say we have Ohm's law, which is E equals I over R. And then we have Kirchhoff's laws, which is voltage total equals the voltage of 1 plus voltage of 2 plus voltage of 3, on and on and on. And resistance total equals resistance of 1 plus resistance of 2 plus resistance of 3, on and on and on. And I total equals I1 equals I2 equals I of 3, on and on and on. So if this is half an amp there, then it must be half an amp
everywhere.
Everywhere. 0.5 amps, 0.5 amps, 0.5 amps. So once you've done that, we have two things for everything, but we'll call it R2 over here. I don't know where D2 is. R2 right there. Then we can pretty much solve for just about everything else. What is resistance here? 24 divided by 1/2 is 48 ohms. That's our total ohms. 15 divided by 0.5 is 30 ohms. And down here we want E, so that's I times R. 8 times 0.5 is 4 volts. Now we can go back over to here and use Kirchhoff's laws and figure out what to do. Well, we can solve for E simply by subtracting 19 from 24, which would give us 5? Yeah, 15, 5 volts. Or we could do the same thing with resistance. We have 38 and 48 right there, so what's left over?
10 ohms.
10, and then we would verify that with Ohm's law and say that 5 divided by 0.5 is in fact 10. And then we can solve for P, which is P equals I times E, and solve it all the way around. So 24 times 1/2 is 12 watts. 30 times 15 is what, 7.5? And 2.5 watts, and 4 times 1/2 is 2 watts. Add them all up together, and hopefully it would get to be 12. So there we go. What if I did this and I was measuring my circuit now? We'll just say I had 24 volts and I measured it, and this is like 14. This over here is, less than 5. This is a little less than 4. And these just aren't adding up to 24. What does that mean?
You get it wrong?
Well, we've measured the voltage here. So we actually measured it. We ended up getting 24. But this right here just, it's 14. This over here is like 4.5. What's going on?
There could be resistance in the test leads.
All right, resistance in the test leads. How would I figure out if I have resistance in the test lead?
Take the test lead out and check if it happens.
Now, take the test lead out, we check it. How?
On our own meter.
Ohm meter.
Very low setting, but that's probably.
Yeah, you get a little bit of maybe, it's like not enough to really matter. What's that?
You could put it at each end of the lead, and instead of measuring for voltage, you could have the circuit charged, and you could measure for voltage instead, and you can use you can use Ohm's law to calculate resistance. That
All right, so put it on the lead right up here. Put on the lead right over here. Put that over here, and let's say we get half a volt. What does that tell me?
There's resistance.
How much resistance is there?
So we know that there's half an amp running through. So we do 0.5 divided by 0.5 gets us our resistance.
Which is
1 ohm.
1 ohm. It's exactly how I would do it. It's hard. It can be difficult to measure that 1 ohm. In my example, that's quite a bit. Sometimes you get like a 1/4 ohm. We're going to be doing some stuff with some very high current flow. And when you get into really high current flows, every little tiny bit helps. Even if you've got like 0.015 of an ohm. What's going on here? Say we had 0.015 of an ohm. And if I had 6 volts, what's the resistance on that?
You mean it's the current? Or the resistance?
I didn't mean the resistance. I meant what is that is not at all what I wanted to do. All right, let's try that one more time. What kind of current are we running right now? On a lot of your, give me an example. You guys, series circuit, what'd you get for current?
About that. Honestly.
No, that's 0.015 ohms.
Ohms, yeah. Or,
I want to say
excuse me.
0.015 amps too. It's fine with me. 0.015 amps, 15 milliamps.
Yeah.
Is that about what you're getting? What's my voltage drop? Zeros, 2 zeros? 3 zeros, 225 volts?
Yes.
That's my voltage drop.
Yeah, 225 microvolts.
Pretty negligible?
I guess.
I would say it's negligible, right? Take the same wire, handle it, and now we're doing 10 amps on a 0.015 ohms. What's my voltage drop? 0.15 volts. Starting to add up. Now you do it across every wire. I'm trying to remember what on the projects, how many amps we're pulling the whole time. It adds up. It definitely starts adding up. And so, I guess my point is it'd be really hard to measure that right there with the ohm meter, but you can measure that and do calculations, and you start to get and see what your resistance is. So just remember that. It's also easier than taking it out of the circuit. All right, then, let's see. Sorry, why does it not show that? It did, now it doesn't. Drive me nuts. Black, okay.
And at that point, like, since we're running so many amps through a wire like that, doesn't temperature come into play in terms of like adding some resistance to it as well?
Yeah, they start to get hot, starts to add more to it. There's a project, we'll get to it. You'll forget I told you about it when you get there, but it's going to be, that's basically the project. I just turn it around. I'm like, oh, what's the resistance to that wire? Like, I didn't know that was part of this project. I'm like, yeah, what's the resistance of the wire? I don't know, you know. Now you know. I told you. How are you going to figure out the resistance of the wire?
Use a voltmeter instead of an ohm meter.
Use a voltmeter, 7 ohm meter. Just do the calculations. Unless Ohm's lying to us. All right, then we talked about parallel circuits. Oh, we started to talk about parallel circuits. Where Ohm's law has not changed even a little bit. It is still the same, E equals I over R. But Kirchhoff laws have changed dramatically, where the voltage total equals voltage of 1, which is the same as 2, which is the same as 3, on and on and on. And current has changed, which is current of 1 plus the current of 2 plus the current of 3 equals I total, on and on and on. And then, of course, our favorite here with, we'll go down here, resistance total equals
The inverse of R1.
R, the inverse of R1 plus the inverse of R2 plus the inverse of R3, on and on and on, and all of that, inverse of that answer. So there we go. There's one other resistance one. This works for everything, and if you can just remember that, you're fine. But if you had two resistors, like one is 50 ohms, and in parallel 50 ohms, it's just the number of resistors you have divided by 2, so that would equal 25 ohms.
Isn't the other way you can write it? It's like all of the resistors multiplied, divided by the resistors added together.
Yeah.
So it's like R1 times R2 over R1 plus R2.
Yeah, but I don't like that one. I just like this one. But if I have two of them that are the same, I'll just remember it's half. All right, what are some of our rules for resistors in parallel? So rule 1. Our total is always less than the smallest resistor. Was there any other rules we need to think about? Let's see. If we add a resistor, adding a resistor will increase or decrease if I add a resistor over here, right here. Will that increase or decrease? Will decrease our total. So if I remove one, that will increase our total.
It's like adding another pipe.
Adding another pipe, or in 309 we talked about the toll booth analogy, whereby maybe I did it in one class, not the other. So the toll booth analogy, going to San Francisco for the day, you get to the toll booth there on the Bay Bridge. And every one of those toll booths is a restriction, right? I mean, back in my day, you had to stop and give them money. Or bridge tickets. If you're in the Navy, you had a little book of bridge tickets. There you go, your bridge ticket. So you had to stop. So it took a long time to get through. Not like today where everybody keeps rolling. So if every one of those ticket booths is a restriction, and we took them and we put them all in series, you got to go through every single one. So we get like a line of 100 cars, and we're all going to go through, right? That's kind of like electrons going through. We're all in line. We all got to go. Nowhere else to go, so everybody's going through. And so if we wanted to figure out each toll booth took us a minute to go through, then we had 5 toll booths. We got 5 minutes of waiting, right? But if we take and we put them in parallel, each toll booth still takes, it's still resistance, but now we spread them out this way. And so as you come up to it, you no longer wait that 1 minute because everybody's spread out now, so it's less than 1 minute. And if we had another toll booth, which is a restriction, the wait gets even less. So one way to look at it. Doesn't matter how you want to look at it. So an example. Let me see. Do I have an example? Parallel. Let's see.
The only thing that changes is how you calculate resistance.
Well, and Kirchhoff's law has changed. Voltage total is now voltage of 1 is the same as the voltage of 2 is the same as voltage of 3. So if we did an example here, we said this is 12 volts, and we could say, let's make it up, 6 ohms and 4 ohms and 2 ohm and 1 ohm. What is the total resistance? I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be less than
Less than 1.
less than 1. What do you guys get for resistance total?
.52.
0.52 ohms. Is it right? Well, it's less than 1. Sounds good to me. Ohm's law hasn't changed at all, so I can calculate right here the total current flow, which is 24 divided by 0.52 is what? 23.07 amps. All right, and because of Kirchhoff's laws before, where the current stayed the same, so we just filled in current, now we just fill, the voltage stays the same, so we just fill out the voltage. And why is the voltage the same? Well, because if we put a voltmeter across here, it's the same thing as putting it here. It's the same thing as putting it right here. So that's going to read 12, 12, and that reads 12. This wire has all of the positive, and this one has all the negative, if you want to look at it like that. So we just put that in there, and then we just solve for our amperage all the way across. So 12 divided by 6 is
2 amps.
2 amps. 12 divided by 4 is
3 amps.
12 divided by 2 is
6 amps.
and 12 divided by 1 is
12 amps.
so we add up 12 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2, and I hope we got 23 out of that mess. Did we?
Just about.
All right, just about 23.07. Okay, so we just add that up. Current of 1, current of 2, because current is coming down this way. All of the current, how much current is right here? All of it, 23.07 amps. 23.07 amps. Gets right here, and some of it leaves. How much of it leaves?
2 amps.
2 amps. So what's going this way?
21.07.
21 amps. We'll just kind of
Round out.
go around it now. And then we got 3 going this way, so we got 18 going this way. This comes this way, 6 is going to go down that way, so we got 12 going that way and around, and it catches back up. So right here we've got 12 amps. We catch 6 right here, so right here we've got 18. Right here we got 3 is going to come back in, so now we got 21. Here we're going to get another 2, so we got 23 amps coming back around. That's all there is to that. Power is exactly the same. It's PIE. Everybody comfortable with that, I hope? Yes.
Not really.
Okay.
Forgot how the calculator button again.
Okay, we should have done that. So let's just say then, well, we can go back to this one. We had 6, 4, 2, and 1. 6, 4, 2, and 1. That's the resistors we had. So it's 6, and then we're going to hit the X minus 1 key. X minus 1 plus 4, X minus 1 plus 2, X minus 1 plus 1, X minus 1 equals, and we're going to get a number. What number did you get?
1.92.
1.92. Now we're going to hit that X minus 1 key one more time. And you should get 0.52. There's your answer. All right, that brings me to series parallel. The trick to doing series parallel is just neatness, which is not easy to do on this little board right here. But series parallel is a combination of series elements and parallel elements, such as up here, we'd have one resistor here. Is that series or parallel?
That's serious so
Well,
far.
if you got one, it's always series, because if I finish it up right now, I'd be like, well, that's in series. All right, now we got another one. Now it's definitely
Series.
series. All right. And you can draw these however, it depends. Draw them so it makes sense to you. Maybe I shouldn't have done it this way. But these two are in parallel. Okay. And so we want to solve for this. EI and R. EIR. We'll put this up here. Put this here. And what we want to do is make this into either a purely parallel circuit or a purely series circuit. There would not really be any way to make this a purely parallel circuit. Just wouldn't work out because it's mostly a series, because we got R1 in series with R2, which is in series with R3, R4, which are in parallel.
I do have a question in regards to making either a series or making it parallel. In which case will we see in the field where we would turn it into an entirely parallel circuit? Because a lot of the examples we've been seeing so far, at least from what I've been seeing, has been we've been converting it from like a series parallel into just a series circuit.
Well, I don't know about in the field because I never did this in the field. It just never came up.
Okay.
I'm wiring an aircraft. It's all in parallel. I didn't really have series elements. Only time you'd run a series element that I could think of is if you run a rheostat for a light switch. Other than that, it's all parallel stuff. But that's just my limited experience. So, okay, so like I said, the trick to doing this is to keep it somewhat neat. I've already failed. So what information do I have? I have a 24 volt circuit. I have R1 at 0.25 ohms. I've got this at 2 ohms and 3 and 1 ohm. So we'll do 3 ohms and 1 ohm. And again, the trick is we have to create either a purely parallel or purely series circuit. This is going to go into a series circuit. So we're simply just going to redraw what we have into a series circuit and solve for it. Well, we leave right here, EIR, and we'll put the totals over here again, EIR for totals, EI and R. So this is E of 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4. Everybody follow what I did right there? So this one down here at the end, that represents these two together. Well, resistor 1 is just resistor 1. There's nothing to do to that. It's already kind of done for me. It's 0.25 ohms. This is resistor 2. It's 2 ohms. And resistor 3, 4, we need to combine them. And we already know how to combine them. How do we combine those two?
You do the inverses to get the total resistance.
Resistances in parallel, we just combine. So it's 3 x minus 1 plus 1 x minus 1 equals, then x minus 1, and it's going to be less than
The smallest.
1 ohm, smallest resistor right there. So what do I get right here? 0.75 ohms. Well, let's add it all up. 75 and the 25 is 1. It's 2, so we have 3 ohms. That's 3 ohms total. So 3 ohms total is 3 ohms total. It doesn't change. And we have 24 volts here. And so how much current do I have? 24 divided by 3 is?
8.
So I got 8 amps. Well, 8 amps in a series circuit is 8 amps, 8 amps, 8 amps. And then the voltage drop across 1 is 0.8 times 25, 2? 2 volts. 8 times 2 is 16 volts and 6. So we have 6 volts. All right, so we've solved now almost all of this because this just carries up. That's just 2 volts, 8 amps, just carrying it up. 16 volts, 8 amps. Here's where it gets a little tricky. This right here, think of this as the power supply powering these two resistors right here. Now it's like, where do you put the battery? Well, it's just, think of it as coming in right here. Just think of it that way.
So that, like, you would maybe like another way of saying it would be like that would be our resistance totals if that was just a solo parallel circuit.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's your totals right there. So we have a power supply of 6 volts, 8 amps, and 0.75 ohms feeding 2 resistors. Well, Kirchhoff's laws for voltage, for parallel tells me the voltage is what? Voltage is the same. So if I have 6 volts going to parallel circuit, then this voltage drop here has to be
6.
6, and this voltage drop has to be
6.
6. Now what do we do?
Find your amperage.
Ohm's law, heard of the guy? I equals
E over R.
E divided by R, so it is
2 amps.
2 amps. And this is going to be
6 amps.
6 amps. Well, now we got to check it. 6 amps plus 2 amps equals
8 amps.
8 amps, and right there is how many amps I had going in there. So inverse of 3 plus the inverse of 1, inverse of that is 0.75. We have 6 volts across each, and we have 8 amps split up between the two because 2 amps are going to go this way, 2 amps, and how many are going this way? 6 amps, and they're going to come back around, and for a total of 8 amps right there. So that should be 8. That should be 8. How many are right here?
8.
8. How many right here?
8.
How many right here?
2.
How many here?
6.
How come I feel like only a couple of people are awake right now? Yeah.
You lost me when you converted it to a series parallel. Or could you just like go back?
I'm done. Peace out.
Peace up.
I'm sorry, I should stay right here. It's very messy, but where did I lose you?
Well, so I don't understand. I heard inverse, but I can't figure out with the parallel sign because I know the series side just drops down. Where did the 7.75 ohms come from? I just heard inverse. And then I
Let's
didn't-
try another one. Try another one. Let's see. Oh, got something in front of me. Let's see. I got this one here. Are we ready? All right. So, got a battery. Come up. Got a resistor. 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 Okay. Oops. That's interesting. Whoa. All right. E, I, and R. E, I, R. 1. We'll call this E, I, R. 3. We'll call this E, I, R. 1. There we go. All right. So, what's that?
You get 2 ones on
Yeah.
there.
Well, it's just being tricky. What do I got here? 36 volts. I don't know what the givens were, but we'll just 10 ohms, 6 ohms, and 3 ohms. All right, so we have this circuit. We have to convert it into what?
Series.
It's going to go best into series. I'd have a hard time making this parallel. So we're going to redraw it over here. This is
10
R1. This one is
R2, 3.
R2, comma 3. 2, comma 3. Everybody follow so far?
Yes, sir.
I got you, but not anybody else. Who's lost so far? Everybody's good? Okay. This R1 just carries over here. It's the same. Nothing has changed about this one, so whatever I put here, I put here. So that's still 10 ohms, right?
Yep.
Okay, this one right here, I'm combining these two right here. Everybody follow? I got to combine these two. 2 and 3. Got to put them together.
Treat it as one resistor. essentially.
I have to treat it as one resistor to solve this problem. So those resistors are in series or are they in parallel?
Parallel.
They're in parallel. How do we add resistors in parallel?
Inverse of inverse.
So it's 6, x minus 1 plus 3,
X minus 1.
x minus 1 equals. So what do we get? Adam, what do we get? 2. 2 what?
Ohms.
Okay, what does 2 ohms represent?
The power supply.
Does not represent the power supply.
It
Oh, I know what you're
represents
saying.
Both
So,
resistors.
What does 2 represent here?
The total resistance.
The resistor.
Right? Everybody over this side, what is the 2? The resistance of 2 and 3 combined. Got it? Now, over here on the black drawing, what do we have? What kind of circuit is that? You guys can solve this in your sleep. Power supply total has not changed. It's just over here on the left side. So let's solve all this. What's my total resistance for this circuit? 12 ohms right here. Look over here on the black side. It's the simplified circuit. 10 plus 2 is? 12. So how many amps do we have? 3 amps. Everybody follow that so far? I can fill that out over here. Let's see, I have 3 amps. 3 amps. So that means the voltage drop across 1 is
30 volts.
30 volts. And the voltage drop here is?
6 volts.
30 plus 6 is?
36.
So it's checking out so far. So now back over here to the red circuit. What's the voltage drop across 1? I need to hear some other people being involved here. Unless you're lost. What's the voltage drop here?
30 volts.
30? Does everybody see where that 30 came from? Because we already did it. And the I's, how much?
3 amps.
Because we already did it. Look, we just copied from here, here, and here, and just brought it over there because nothing's changed. All right. Now we got to solve for this. This right here becomes my power supply or input into here. This is the input into right here. So if I have a parallel circuit with a power of 2 resistors and a power supply that has 6 volts, what's the voltage drop across each resistor?
6 volts.
6 volts. Now I just do Ohm's law. What is my current flow here? 1 amp, and my current flow here?
2 amps.
Now I'm going to check it. I said I had a total of 3 going into this. Does 2 and 1 add up to 3?
Yes.
All right, then we're looking good. So coming out of the battery, I have 36 volts. I have 3 amps. We have 3 amps right there. Yep. How many amps right here? 3 amps. How many right here?
3 amps.
Okay, now it gets to this point right here. How many go this way?
1.
1 amp. So how many go this way?
2.
2 amps. Comes back around. How many do I have here?
3.
3, because 2 comes back around and the 1 comes back around. We have 3. How many here? 3. 3. Right back in. Cool?
Wait, how come both of those have 6 volts?
Because that's the input. It's a parallel circuit. It's like this.
They each get 6 volts.
Let me redraw it right here.
Parallel circuit, the volt stays constant.
What do we have? Had 1 resistor with. Why'd you do that? I had 6 ohms and 3 ohms. 6 ohms, 3 ohms. Power supply right here. It's 36, 3, and 12. 36, 3, and 12. Everybody see where I got that information from? Right there. 6 ohms, 3 ohms, 36, 3, and 12. We'll solve for this. EIR. EI and R. In a parallel circuit, oops, that didn't work.
Wouldn't it just be 6?
Sorry, because I didn't have that one. I forgot. Can't do this. Jumped ahead of myself. It's got to be 6, 3, and 2. Sorry, 6, 3, and 2. That was easy enough. Okay, 6, 3, and 2. Everybody sure I got the 6, 3, and 2? It's right here. Did you follow me?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
The power supply.
Yeah, that we figured out. It's the combined of these two.
Okay.
So, in a parallel circuit, if you have 6 volts, the voltage total is equal to voltage of 1, which is equal to voltage of 2. So that's 6 volts.
So it's 6 volts stay constant.
Yes, in a parallel circuit, voltage stays constant.
Okay.
And the current splits, as opposed to a series where what stays constant? Current, and what then? Voltage changes. So, got it?
Yeah, I guess.
Yes.
Just gotta remember which one's which.
Yeah, that's all it is to it. All right, let's try something else here. Let's see. All right. So it's 12 ohms. We'll say this one is EIR. EIR. We'll make this one 16 ohms. This one 16 ohms. We'll do this one. EIR is 1 ohm. And then EIR. EIR. And we'll make this one 12 and 4. 12 ohms and 4 ohms. There we go. So we got to combine this. What's it going to look like? Series or parallel?
Parallel. Series.
Final answer?
Series.
Series circuit. How many elements will my simplified circuit have? 3. Move it over a little bit. So 1, 2, 3. So EIR of 1 comma 2. This has to be 1. That's 2. This is EIR 3 because this will be 3. This will be 4. That'll be 5. So this one is EIR 4 comma 5. So what is my resistance of 1 and 2?
8 ohms.
8 ohms. What is my resistance here?
1.
1 ohm. What is my resistance of 4 comma 5? 3 ohms. What's my total resistance? 12. Hey, it worked out just fine, didn't it? 12. But I didn't give you a voltage. We'll go 48. So what's current flow?
4 amps.
4 amps. So if current flow is 4 amps, what's the current flow through E1 and 2?
Total of 4.
4 amps. How about 3? 4 amps. How about 4, 5? 4 amps. What's the voltage drop on 1, 2? 32. Voltage drop here. 4. I times R is 4. And voltage drop here.
12.
12. So you got 12. That add up to 48. 44, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there we go, 48. So that checked out, so 48. So if E1 and 2 has a voltage drop of 32, what is the voltage drop of E1?
32.
What's the voltage drop of E2? And what's the voltage drop of 3?
4.
Hasn't changed. What's the voltage drop of 4, 5? 12 on each side. Just solve for I now. $32 divided by 16 is?
2 amps.
And I know that there's 4 amps here coming down through. 2 went this way, so 2 went this way, and 16 times 2 is 32, so we're good. Came back together, so this has to be 4 amps, and mathematically it works out. We got 4 amps coming down in here, so we have 1 amp here. That must mean 3 is going the other way, so let's check it out. 3 amps, 4 times 3 is 12, so it worked out. Not difficult, was it?
Once you know what you're looking at.
Once you know what you're looking at. All right. Let's see. Let's do this. Hang on. Oh, didn't want all that to go away. There we go. So you have 12 ohms here, 6 ohms there. We'll do 6 ohms here. Let's do 4. I'm making up stuff now. 4 and 2 right there. We'll make this a 12-volt battery. All right, so I have to redraw this. What is it going to look like? Series circuit or a parallel circuit?
It's gonna be a parallel circuit still, even when you redraw it.
Okay, it's going to be a parallel circuit, but I can't do it in one step anymore. So I got that one, got this one, and now I've got this one plus this one. So this can be R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5. So we have R1, R2, R3, R4, and 5 right there in total. EIR total. So we have 12 volts. What is my total resistance? Well, I don't know yet. This one is 12. This one is 6. This one up here is 6. What is 4-5?
1.3.
I don't know. I just made up stuff. Is it? Four x minus 1 plus 2 x minus 1 equals x minus 1 equals 1.3. This is 1.3 ohms. So I can combine it one more time. This one stays the same, this one stays the same, and we got this one here. So it simplifies down to 3 parallel resistors, where EIR, I didn't know they made donuts this late. EIR, so we have 12 volts. Resistance here is 12. We just carried it down. Resistance here is 6 volts. Ohms. What is my resistance here? 7.3. Everybody see where I got 7.3? I have these two right here in series. In series, the resistance adds. Remember that? So 6 plus 1.3 is 7.3. Anybody lost right now? Yes? No? Okay, where did I lose you?
Mostly just going way too fast.
Yeah, I'm still
You're still drawing it?
As you're like, honestly, yeah, you're like putting numbers down as I'm still getting there.
Okay, good time to say something is right at the minute you get lost. You got to stop me.
I get it.
Yeah, it's not just you got to stop me.
Can't work that fast.
You got to stop me. You can't just keep letting me go and go, okay, go back up because I never finished drawing. Yeah.
So we're solving this all in a parallel circuit way. So like R1, R2, and R3, even though they're parallel, we're just letting them be, or are we solving it in a series circuit way?
You have to look at the circuit and decide what's best.
Okay.
You could solve this in a series circuit, but in order to do it, you got to get it down to one resistor. And that's just R1.
Yeah.
Because if you have R1 and R2, that's going to be parallel.
Gotcha.
So, or I can solve it with 3 resistors, but I can do it in parallel if I do 3.
So currently the step we're on, we're getting the R3 and R4 and R5 that are parallel, and we're compressing it a little bit. In
You just look for one thing to compress. There's only one thing worth compressing on here.
Yeah.
You can really make a mess of this. You could combine these two, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Don't have to.
So-
So you can combine R1 and R2. You don't have to. I know some books will tell you to do it. They'll take you all the way down to one element. I just don't. I think it takes too long. We can't really put R3 into 4-5 because R3 is in series with 4-5, but we can sure as heck can take R4-5 and move them into 1, right?
Make it an equivalent.
Make it an equivalent. So that's what we did here. Is everybody drawing the top one? Okay, now we're going to move down a little bit, and we're just going to redraw it. This one, R1 stays the same. It doesn't change. R2 stays the same. It doesn't change. R3 stays the same for now, but R4-5 gets combined. They're in parallel, so we're going to use the parallel resistor function equation, which is 4x minus 1 plus 2x minus 1 equals x minus 1. That all equals 1.3. So now we've got a parallel, and 2 series that are in parallel. See that? Parallel, parallel. All of this is in parallel. So we can add these 2 together, but they're in series, right? So now we have to add them up like they are in series. And so in Kirchhoff's law says in series, we just do what with the resistance? Add them up. So 6 plus 1.3 is 7.3. So now we redraw it one more time. I've got 12 ohms, 6 ohms, and we've combined these 2 here. So really, this particular one here is, well, that's R1. This is R2. This is 3, 4, and 5 combined together.
So the total ohms is going to be less than 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're just looking down here at a simple parallel circuit with 3 elements. And you guys know what to do with that, right? So let's solve it. Just like you would any other parallel circuit. So 12x minus 1 plus 6x minus 1 plus 7.3x minus 1 equals x minus 1 equals, who has the answer? 2.58 ohms. Well, what's the current flow on that? Current flow is EIR, current flow on I, so it's E, which is 12 divided by 4. What? 4.64 amps. Awesome. Now we're just looking at this. What carries across?
Voltage.
So that's 12 volts, that's 12 volts, and this is 12 volts. Now we solve for current. 1 amp, 2 amps, and
0.64.
what's that?
1.64.
1.64 amps. All right, let's take a break right there.